We're here at Artisan's Palette. I'm PMFA, and I'm joined as always by Charissa Bradley. She's also known as the Doctor of Food. Once a month, it's the second Wednesday of every month, we do these classes, and this is called our Clean Eating 101 class. And we're here to help you make better choices at what's at the end of your fork. Our topic today is watch out for deceptive marketing. It's a little bit different, well actually it's a lot different from the labels. So that was commandment number 1, is let the ingredient list guide you. Commandment number 3 is we've created what are called the 10 commandments of clean eating. And if you have logged on to our I Am a Clean Eater Facebook page, you will see that we've been dropping each commandment every day. So we're on day 3 today. Tomorrow we'll drop commandment number 4. So it's good timing because we're actually talking about the 3rd commandment today, which is watch out for deceptive marketing. Charissa's going to lead the class, but I'd like to just do a quick intro. We've all been there. We go to restaurants that say farm to table, and we think, oh, that's great. This should be a good, clean restaurant. And then to find out they're still using canola oil or some other, they say on the bottom, it's always a disclaimer. We try to source the best that we can, and then you realize Cisco's driving up and dumping all the regular industrialized food.
Yeah.
So there's a series of different deceptive marketing tactics that are being used in the industry that's going to be our topic today. So because I'm in the store, I'm going to throw it over to Charissa. She's going to lead the class. If you have questions, please just go down below and ask the questions. We have people in the store today also, so if you guys have questions, just go ahead and ask them and let us know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so quick recap. So this is an ongoing series like Pia said. So we have 10 commandments, and each month we're covering one of the 10 commandments. So the first one, like Pia said, was let the ingredient list guide you. And in that class, we really dove into understanding how to read a nutritional label and how the nutrition facts don't really mean anything, and really what we got to look for is what's actually in the product itself. So we're really looking for exactly what ingredients are in there. And then last month, we covered why it's important to be organic, non-GMO over the conventionally grown foods. And I want to touch on that a little bit more tonight because last class, if you were able to see it last video or if you go back and watch it, I unintentionally scared a lot of people because the conventionally grown food is really bad. We're constantly putting, hormones and antibiotics into our body, and then getting concerned as to why those antibiotics that we're getting in the doctor's office isn't working anymore. It isn't doing the job anymore. And the concern is then, well, why, if I'm giving myself antibiotics for this illness, am I not getting better from the antibiotics? And the answer is that we were constantly consuming so many antibiotics from the animal products that we're eating that we're becoming immune to those antibiotics that we're then getting in the doctor's offices. So when my daughter was maybe a year old, the doctors told me she had an ear infection. She did a round of amoxicillin, and then we took her back in the week later, and she had a double ear infection and had to go on a much bigger dose of antibiotics because they were not working for her. And then the concern then is, well, why didn't something that has worked always not work anymore? And the same thing goes for myself. I was on antibiotics, a low dose antibiotic for 2 years for a bladder problem that I had, or thought that it was the problem, but it really wasn't ever the real problem. So they put me on antibiotics every single day for 2 years, and now no antibiotics work for me. Now I go to if I went to the doctor and they give me antibiotics, it doesn't work. I could do 7 days, and then I need another 7 days, and then another 7 days, and I'm just killing all my bacteria. So now I won't even go that route. There's so many better natural cures for things like that I won't even go there anymore. But the fear that I did, or the problem that I think I had in my last class, was I didn't really give a lot of tips to how to fix the problem, right? So I wrote a really great blog about where you can get pasture-raised animal, pasture-raised produce, non-conventionally grown foods in a better way that supports your families, because then of course the cost comes into play, right? We think, well, can't afford to eat organic, so it gave some really good tips on the clean 15 and the dirty dozen. So if it really becomes a cost issue, then we focus on those 12 things that are really, really bad, conventionally grown, and we go and buy those things organic at the minimum. Okay? So tonight, then, I want to talk about deceptive marketing. And this is an interesting topic for me. I've been thinking about it all week, kind of how to approach this. Because as we, as a society, are getting smarter, for lack of a better word, we're starting to open our eyes to these things, and we're starting to see, like, but wait a minute, I thought that chickens were supposed to eat, well, chickens are omnivores, right? They're not supposed to eat a vegetarian diet. And this is a funny thing for me that is also very irritating. Driving down the freeway, every once in a while I see the Foster Farms truck, right? And the Foster Farms truck, they've got a new organic truck. And they're promoting their new organic chicken, right? They gotta fit in, they gotta come, we're forcing the industry to go in that direction, right? As more people start understanding these things, and as more people start buying into the organic and non-conventionally grown meats and vegetables, they're starting to have to go that way too, which is great. We're changing the industry. This is a great, like, woo-woo moment, okay? Foster Farms, big, huge semi-truck. On the side of the truck it says, "Our all-natural organic chickens." It's huge, the entire truck, and it says 100% vegetarian fed. And I get so pissed off, and I want to take a picture of it and post it every single time I see it. I get so pissed off. Chickens are not vegetarians. Okay, they didn't have like a choice in the matter, and they're like, well, I really think that the worms and the parasites and the little bugs that I eat, they're not being treated fairly, and so I decided that I'm not going to eat those things anymore, right? That's the vegetarian argument. The animals aren't being treated fairly. I 100% agree with that stance. They're being killed before their time. 100% agree with all of those things. But do you think that's what the chickens are thinking? Like, oh, I really shouldn't eat those bugs because they're going extinct, they're underpopulated, they're being treated unfairly, so I should just be a vegetarian. No, they're not, they don't have that, like, cognition to think, like, oh, I shouldn't be eating those things. They're not vegetarians. They certainly weren't bred to eat soy and corn. That wasn't their diet, ever. It's grass, it's bugs. When they live on a farm where they're supposed to be living, the cows graze on the grass, the cows poop all over the grass, then they let the chickens in, the chickens eat the parasites out of the poop, they poop and create more grass, and then it's like this whole symbiotic relationship. That's how it's supposed to work. It's not supposed to be chickens sitting in a cage, 5 chickens to one little pin, pecking each other and eating a bunch of corn and soy. That wasn't it. So this big advertisement, this big, like, we're doing the right thing. Like, you're still not doing the right thing. So this all comes into deceptive marketing. So deceptive marketing is these big guys, they're trying to move into this industry, right? They're trying to say, okay, now people are waking up. They're starting to care where their food came from. They're starting to understand, like, maybe the McDonald's cheeseburger that isn't real meat, like, maybe I should understand where that's coming from. Maybe I should understand what that is. And as we wake up, as we're getting smarter, as we're learning more of these things, we're starting to say, like, I don't think I'm going to buy your meat with the pink slime, right? I don't think I'm going to buy this cow that had to be treated nuclearly so that I don't get mad cow disease. Like, all of these things are starting to come to light, and people are starting to understand it. Well, now, because of that, the marketing department has gotten really smart. And they're going to try to do anything they can to make sure you're still buying their stuff, because it's a lot cheaper for them to make it this way. It's a lot easier to make it this way. So they're starting this whole, and deception has been around for, forever. But now it's becoming very tricky to figure out what those labels mean on your food. And I don't mean labels like the nutritional facts. I mean labels like those big old stamps that they put on the top of the package that says, all natural, 100% vegetarian fed, grass fed, grass finished, all organic. Like, all these labels, what do they mean? And we want to see them, and we want to think like, oh, they're being cognizant of what I need to know, and I feel like that's better for me because it has this all-natural stamp on it, or no antibiotics stamp on it. They say no added antibiotics, right? Mm-hmm. That means that they're not putting it in their foods. They're still giving them antibiotics. Okay? So all of these things, they have a little trick to them. So tonight's class is all about what are those little tricks and how do we figure out a way around them. Okay? So a couple of ones that I want to touch on tonight. I've already said all the vegetarian fed. And I want to talk about all natural. I want to talk about sustainable. And I want to talk about, what else? Sustainable, grass-fed, pasture-raised. What else?
We'll come up with more as we, the light bread, L-I-T-E.
Oh.
Like the whole,
Light bread, low fat.
Yes, the
Any of
whole
those.
thing that there's a whole craze that a lot of people follow. Sorry, I came from behind. I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay. So there's a craze that people follow.
Which is, the low fat,
Yeah.
no sugar.
Yeah.
And so we've been fed such a load of, craziness that, but it's effective, right? So
Sure.
people will see something and it says light.
Right.
So they think, oh, well, that's the better version because light of what though? What's it light
It's
of?
not heavy, so it must be good.
So it's just so crazy. So as we
Yeah.
continue to talk about it, we'll
Yeah.
mention these things.
Okay, so
Yeah.
great. As they come up, maybe if you think of other ones that you hear or see, then we'll talk about those too. So the biggest thing I want to talk about is the difference between a pasture-raised animal versus the animals that they say are grass-fed or grass-finished, okay? So a typical cow lifespan is, if it's being used as in the meat industry, should be about 4 years. The difference in conventional foods versus pasture-raised. So they end up being about 4, a little maybe older. When they're not pasture-raised, when they're conventionally raised animals, they're about 1 to 2 years old. And the reason that they can do that is they've got the cows just standing in their own, situation, eating all day long. And it's corn and it's soy. And those things are fattening up the animal. And once they get to a certain size, then that animal can be slaughtered and sold as meat. When it says grass-fed, they're allowed to put the label grass-fed on any animal that has had grass in its lifetime. Okay? So it maybe got grass for the first 2 weeks, and it maybe got grass the last 3 days. Now it's been grass-fed and grass-finished. Okay, so that's a very big difference than an animal that's lived on a pasture its whole life and gotten to eat grass its whole life. Pastured, constantly just kind of grazing on the grass and living that life where they have access to clean water, they get to walk around, the sunshine, and then of course the grass, which is what their diet is supposed to be made of, is the grass. They actually have cows have 2 stomachs. One is called a rumen. The rumen has been created for that cow to break down all the grass, and it turns it actually into a protein. Then that protein goes into the second stomach, and then it's used, all those amino acids are used to help support the cow's life. The cows are being fed now corn and soy. They're not meant to have that diet, so they're getting a lot of diseases. They're getting really sick. In order to keep them from getting sick, the corn and the soy and the meal that's all kind of mashed up together that they're fed in this big old trough is mixed every day with antibiotics. Every day. It just goes in every day. As every meal that they eat, they have a constant stream of antibiotics. The reason they have to do that is because they're getting the diet that's not meant for them. Right? This isn't what they're supposed to have. So really the question shouldn't be like, what label is this on here, but does the label match what the animal was supposed to have? So if it's chicken and it says on the label 100% vegetarian fed, even if it says organic just means that they have to have a little bit more space in the cage, like 1 less chicken than conventional. And there's no pesticides on the foods that they're eating. It's just an organic corn and an organic soy. It doesn't mean still that they don't have antibiotics. If it says no antibiotics ever, then they didn't have antibiotics. If it says no added antibiotics, it means that they didn't get it in their food. They still got the injections, or they got the injections of antibiotics when they were sick, but they still got it in their food, or didn't get it in their food. So either way, there's still going to be antibiotics in your food. Okay? So it's tricky to find those little things. You really got to understand each one of those labels. So most animals are omnivores. They eat both vegetables and meat. So the chickens, the pigs, the cows eat only grass. That's their main source of meals. That's everything. I'm trying to think what other animals there are. Lambs, same kind of thing as the chickens. As the cows, should be out on a pasture. So when you're looking for meat, it needs to show pasture raised. Grass-fed, grass-finished doesn't mean anything. It means they could have had a little bit of grass in the beginning, a little bit of grass at the end. That's grass-fed, that's grass-finished. Organic is a next step up. Pasture raised is the best. And especially with your eggs. People come to me all the time, I have an egg allergy. But when they go to pasture-raised eggs, eggs from chickens that have been raised on a pasture, they don't have any problems. And the reason is, not only do chickens get the corn and the soy, they're also getting aspirin. Aspirin makes them lay more eggs. So now we're getting in our eggs, because that shell is very permeable, right? That shell is being created by the animal. Now we're getting eggs that are soy, corn, and aspirin. So for someone like me, I have autoimmune diseases. I have 4 autoimmune diseases. So the first thing I did was I cut out the bad foods, right? I thought, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I'm not eating the gluten, the dairy, the soy, the corn, the sugar, the alcohol. I cut it all out, right? But I'm still eating vegetables, all the vegetables I want, all the meat, eggs, and that I want, nuts, seeds, bacon, whatever. The problem then was that I was eating animals and animal proteins that were eating all the foods that I couldn't eat. So I was still getting sick from my food. Because what are you eating if the cow ate corn and soy? You're not eating meat that's full of protein and vitamins and vitamin A and vitamin B that you need from the meat, because they didn't get it either, because they were supposed to get it from the grass. So if they're getting just corn and soy, so are you. So that's what made me make the change. So organic is just organic corn and soy, and then pasture raised is a huge jump. So Pia likes to explain to people, there's a cost difference, right? There's a cost difference from conventionally raised, you can get like 99 cents a pound or whatever, cheap meat. And then there's organic, which is a step up. It's a big jump for people. It's a hard thing to do. But you're not changing that much, right? Here's the breakdown. We've got regular conventional foods. You're spending maybe like $10 more to get organic, but you're still getting the corn and the soy. Now here's the jump from here's organic, right? Now we go to pasture raised. It's a much bigger jump. You're getting a way higher quality of food for only a very small fraction more than you were paying for the organic. Okay, so we had this big jump here in price, but not much in quality, and then a much bigger jump in quality, but not in price. Okay, so the best thing that you can do for yourself is to get those pasture raised. Even better thing that you can do for yourself is go through the farms that are selling it correctly, that are raising those animals correctly. Call them on the phone and say, how are you raising your animals? Can I come out and see your farm? Primal Pastures will let you come out and see the animals, see how they're being raised. And then you know, okay, they've been on the farm their whole lives. They live longer. They are happier. They don't need the hormones or the antibiotics. They're better animals. And the price difference from organic to pasture raised, even though it's not much of a jump, the benefits and the quality is a massive leap forward. Okay, the same thing goes for your eggs. Like I said, pasture raised. So it can't just be organic. And a lot of them, these great, beautiful labels, they're all like looking real fancy, all organic. Look for it where it says all vegetarian fed. It's on every single one. You've got to get pasture raised. They got to be pasture raised. Otherwise, you're just getting corn and soy. You might as well just go eat a bunch of corn and soy. Be cheaper. And at least you're getting what you paid for, right? Okay. So So labeling on packages. So that's meat and eggs. We talked about produce last week. We talked about conventional organic last week. So now I want to talk about anything that you see that will have a label on the front of it. And there's a lot of labels now. Again, like all natural, all organic. There's a ton of them. And we can talk about them as we go. But those have been created to make it look like they're a better product. Okay? So what happens is we had all these like normal labels. What we wanted before was 100% whole grains, all natural, right? We wanted to see those things, and we would pick it up. If you had 2 bags of exactly the same product, exactly the same ingredients, but one has a label on it that says all natural, that one's gonna get sold more. The ingredients are identical. As long as it doesn't have any like, what would it be in there? What would be in there? Cyanide? I don't know. Something that isn't a natural product. Even that chlorine is natural. Chlorine is in almost all of our vegetables. Your carrots, baby carrots, when they sit out on the counter, they turn white. It's because they've been washed in a chlorine bath. That's all coming out. So that's all in our food anyways.
I want to add a couple things
Yeah,
here
please.
too. A couple of the things we want to note is things will say, just like what Charissa was saying, then they'll say vegan. Or they'll say gluten-free, because we're in a mindset to think that vegan is healthy. Well,
Can be.
Oreos are vegan,
They are. Yeah.
okay? So not so healthy, right? And so when we see these things, the labelings become so silly that they'll have olive oil and they'll say gluten-free.
Yeah. But people
There
will
was
buy
no-
more
Right.
more of that olive oil.
Because they think that that's a health food at this
Exactly.
point, and it's not, because
Exactly.
gluten-free is just generally switching one bad carb for another,
Yes.
putting a bunch of sugar in
Yes.
it, and putting a bunch of preservatives in
Yes.
it. So you have
And a
to
thickener
read
of
the
some kind
labels.
that is going to
Right.
be, a carcinogen.
Right, it doesn't mean that there's no soy in it. It doesn't mean there's no sugar in it.
Mhm.
It just says gluten-free.
Yep.
So you have to look at, they put these labels on here to purposely deceive us and confuse us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called deceptive marketing. That's why
Yes.
this whole class is called
Right.
deceptive marketing. Because it's meant to think like, is this healthier for you because it has this label on it? Well, it isn't.
Right.
And it really goes back to the second class that we did, or the first class that we did, which is read the ingredients. Do the ingredients say organic, cane sugar, organic palm oil, whatever it is? Does it say that it's an organic product? Maybe it says on there like all natural, but the back of it shows all these words that you could never even pronounce. A bunch of corn, a bunch of soy, those are natural products. That doesn't mean you necessarily want them in your body. So all natural doesn't mean good or good for you. All natural just means it's a natural food source. Or something that can legally be put in your body. The FDA has approved it, it's okay, even though we don't know the long-term side effects of it. Okay, so Pia mentioned the gluten-free label, the vegan label. Those labels, again, like Pia said, you can totally be gluten-free and still be really, really unhealthy. They've made a product switch for every single thing. Every single item, there's a gluten-free version of it. And like Pia said, it's just switching one carb for another carb. So if it's gluten-free bread, they just took out the wheat and the gluten, and then they put in corn and rice, brown rice flour, white rice flour, sorghum flour, tapioca starch, all of those things. It wasn't that it was a natural switch or that it was even a healthy switch. So there are good ones. Paleo, certified paleo is really a good one because you know that it doesn't have any gluten, dairy, soy, corn, or sugar in it. That's a good stamp. Organic is the best that we've got right now. Non-GMO organic stamp is it's like, okay, that's a good step forward. They have to go through a certification process. They can't, not just anybody can put that on the label. So that's a good one to look for. But on your meats and on your eggs, organic isn't enough. Okay? Yeah. And then on your, anytime you're looking at a boxed or a bagged product, the most important thing is to check the ingredients. No matter what that stamp says on it. Whether it says all natural, whether it says gluten-free, vegan, pegan, I can't think of any other, like, why am my brain is like
Grass-fed.
Grass-fed, grass-finished, all vegetarian. All vegetarian.
Fat-free, sugar-free.
Okay, those ones are the big ones, right? Fat-free, means that there's some other really bad oil in it. Canola, typically. Canola is a fat-free oil. Sugar-free means it has aspartame, sucralose, any of those artificial sweeteners. Stay as far away from anything that says sugar-free as you possibly can. It is so not good for you. Sugar-free sodas, diet, anything. The light, like Pia said, is just they took out a good, healthy fat and they put in one that isn't good, it isn't healthy, it isn't going to do well for your body, but your doctor will tell you that it's better because it's low in trans fat or whatever he says, right? So I just recently read, a friend of mine posted a picture of a sign at a Mexican restaurant, and they said, "We've gone healthy. We took out all of our animal fats and we now cook only in vegetable oils." And you think like, oh, so they took out all the good stuff, put in a bunch of canola oil, and they market it as now we're healthier. So ask those questions. But like Pia said in the very beginning of the video, or the very beginning of the class, when the restaurant says farm to table, but we do the best that we can, ask them, what does that mean you do the best that you can? Does it mean you have a delivery truck coming and it's all conventional foods and you just tell me that because you're going to sell more people that way? They can do that. It's not illegal for them to tell you that it's farm to table. It came from some farm and it's going on some table, right? They're not lying to you, but it doesn't necessarily mean clean, organic, pasture-raised, local farms. We're supporting the community and we're putting this on your plate. So ask those questions and don't just look at a package of something and see, oh, it says all natural and it means it's clean. No, read the ingredients every single time. Even if it says it's organic, even if it says it's paleo, even if it's in this amazing clean store, look at the ingredients. Start to understand what those things are. Because even in those simple things that you'd think, like there's no way there's going to be anything crappy in here. Like your olive oil, right? Pia says in the olive oil they put the gluten-free. 5 years ago, there was a big scandal with olive oil that they were mixing olive oil 50-50 with canola oil. Okay, it was a heck of a lot cheaper for them. And it had primarily olive oil in it. So that's what they marketed it as. So check the labels. And don't just think, oh, because it's here, or because I'm at Sprouts, or because I'm at Trader Joe's, and these are health food stores, that it's going to be clean. That's just not the case. Those kinds of stores, they're awesome in a lot of respects, and they're also glorified convenience stores. Okay, they're selling you on, here's the convenience section. Even the clean stores have crap in their freezers. You can still buy donuts and ice cream and cookies and candy at those crappy places, or at those good places. So read the labels and really start to understand that those marketing people are not out there to help you. They're out there to sell products. And if they say something good on the label, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's actually in it. And I made the mistake. I've gone home and had my mom actually pull something out of my fridge and be like, this is not good for you. What are you talking about? I bought it at Roots. How could it not be good for me? I bought it at Organic Roots. Like, no, this is crap. You gotta throw it away. Like my mom, I'm the nutritionist. I'm the one who paid for something and brought it into my house, and it had crap in it. So everywhere you go, it's all about what the ingredients say, and understand that those stamps that they put on the front of those packages isn't for your benefit, it's for theirs. They're gonna make more money. It doesn't matter. They could put the same exact box of cereal, Cheerios 1 with Cheerios 2. Cheerios 2 has an all-natural stamp on it. They all have exactly the same ingredients, and more people are going to buy that one. So that's the biggest thing to take away from this. Any questions about anything?
If you go to a farmer's market and you buy produce from a farm that isn't certified organic, but they say they don't use pesticides, is that typically okay?
It takes 5 years to get certified organic. So they could be doing all the right practices, and it's also a very, very expensive thing to do. So it might be a small farmer, they can't afford to get the certification, but they've been doing it all clean. The best thing to do is to talk to the people who are doing the farms and say, how are you doing this? Are you putting pesticides? Are you doing herbicides? What kinds of things are you doing to protect it from bugs? The funkier the looking the vegetable, the better off it is, right? They didn't GMO the seed to make it this perfect round tomato. That's just not what nature intended, right? There's imperfections in nature. So ask them about it. Ask those questions. And if they say they are, and you're really feeling like it's a good, clean place, then absolutely. Personally, I go to farmers markets and I talk to those people, and they're like, yeah, we're in the process of being organic. We've never done pesticides in our farm before, but it takes 5 years, and we're on year 3. And they're still selling cheaper than the other people. Go for it.
What's the difference between a pesticide and an herbicide?
Pesticides are for the pests, and then they get away with using the herbicides because they're killing the weeds and things around it. So there's two. So one is killing bugs, one is killing plants.
But they're both just as bad.
They're both just as bad. They both are super heavy in chemicals, and if the seed is growing in soil that's been sprayed with herbicides, then there's something different about that seed. That seed has been modified to grow in a situation like that.
Right. So it's probably GMO.
Almost all seeds are GMO now. Almost all Monsanto seeds. So you got to ask them. You got to ask, where'd you get your seeds from? Are these GMO seeds? Are you making your own? We have great seed companies. Pia sells them here in the store, the All Good Seeds Company. They're non-GMO. And as more people are doing this, as more people are supporting this industry, they're going to have to go that way.
So if you go to a Home Depot or Lowe's and buy tomato plants, squash plants,
GMO.
whatever, but if it says organic,
It's
can
good.
it be GMO?
No, it can't be
Okay.
GMO if it's organic.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's got to say that. Otherwise, yes, they are probably GMO seeds. I read some statistic, it was like 90% of all seeds are now.
How is it that Monsanto has been able to survive through all of their deceptive marketing and,
Because we're still buying it.
Yes.
We're still buying it. 2 months ago, I gave the example. I'm so messed up on my timeline, but it must have been like 10 years ago because I was in college still. Jack in the Box came out and said, "There's no meat in our beef tacos. Those 2 tacos you get for $1."
I remember that.
Yeah, there's no meat in our beef tacos. It's all soy. It's a soy product that's meat-like. Okay? What did we do? Did we stop going to Jack in the Box? Did we boycott Jack in the Box? Did they close down? No! They're still building more stores. It doesn't matter. We can know all the facts all we want, but until you're ready to make those changes for yourself and you understand that, hey, this part of my budget is the most important thing for me. I see women and families all the time who are like, oh, we can't afford it, but you're driving a brand new Land Rover. You got a brand new Michael Kors bag. I saw the diamond ring. When it becomes a priority, then we'll start doing it. And those industries are still being supported. And until they're not anymore, they're still going to survive. And a lot of countries are kicking them out. There's no GMOs allowed in several countries now that have just said we're not even allowing you in our country anymore. You can't. None of your products will be sold here. We will not do any of these things anymore. But we're still eating it up. The most unhealthy country. So it's sad, and we can talk about it, and I can teach these classes as much as I want to, and I try to reach as many audience members as I possibly can. But until people actually make the decision to go that way, unfortunately, it's going to stay at the price that it is.
And I think a lot of it's taste. You
Sure.
know what I mean? So how do you switch over to the organic taste? Because we're so used to eating that same tasty food.
Yeah, so interesting.
It's really hard to
Interesting
switch.
concept. So the taste of food, organic versus conventional. It's funny that you say this. So just from a scientific standpoint, it takes 2 weeks to change your taste buds. Our taste buds they die all the time, and they are regenerating. So it takes 2 weeks to change your taste buds. So if you switched over now and you started eating all organic, in 2 weeks from now you could go eat something that was non-organic, it would taste like pure chemicals.
That happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it happens with a lot of people with sugar, like sugary foods. They're really sugar addicted. Like I eat cupcakes, I eat candy, I eat cookies, whatever. And then you don't do it for a couple weeks. That's why we do the whole 30 days of no crappy foods. And then after that 30-day mark, I have people who are like, I had a brownie and it tasted like crap.
No, you just get sick.
You get sick of it. Well, and the
my
coffee
body just
creamers, people put them in their coffee every single day, and then they think oh, my whole 30's over, I'm going to have my coffee creamer, and it coats their mouth with chemicals.
Yes.
It's all chemicals. but you don't taste it because you're so addicted to it,
Right.
right? Real food, organic food, real produce tastes like what it's supposed to taste like. A real tomato, if you haven't had one in a long time, is beautiful. It tastes incredible. It tastes like a tomato. You eat conventionally grown foods, we are used to dipping them in ranch or drizzling them in a sauce because they don't have a flavor of their own. So once you start eating the real foods, then you see like, oh, it actually has a flavor. So that's a huge difference.
What's the oil at theaters for the popcorn that they use?
I was just thinking
I'm
the
sure
same thing.
canola.
You have everything the
I'm
same
sure canola oil. Butter flavored canola oil.
Yeah.
Do you love that popcorn that's butter flavored? It's like, but
Well,
how about
what
just
happened
like
to the real-
butter
why don't we just use
popcorn?
butter?
Why don't we just use butter?
Yeah,
Because
you
we
know.
got more. It's cheaper, and we could get more addicted to the fake stuff, and it's cheaper. I mean, it all comes down to cost.
Yeah.
Okay, the farmers changed over in the first place because it became too expensive if their crops caught a disease or if there was a drought. So we had to create drought-tolerant plants. So then we started GMOing seeds. GMO, genetically modified foods, started because there was a specific subgroup of foods that grew in droughts. So then they took those plants and used those seeds and then grew those plants. The idea started out appropriate. It started out, okay, we don't have enough water. These plants grew enough without the water, they still taste okay, let's use these seeds. That's genetic modification. Where we went wrong is starting to play God, right? Okay, now we know that we can do this. Let's make a plant that can withstand huge amounts of pesticides. Let's make a plant that can sustain huge amounts of herbicides. So we can spray the crap out of them. No bugs will ever eat my plant. I'll never get a disease. And I can create mass amounts of food for a country, for a world that's populating faster than its food can grow. It came about because of sustainability. If there's not enough food to feed all of the people, what do? So now here's the fear. We don't have enough food. The solution is let's genetically modify it so that we can grow mass amounts without losing any. It started out with an appropriate idea. The problem is we just took it way too far. And now instead of eating food, we're just eating a bunch of chemicals. And then what's the point? We're all gonna, get sick and get messed up anyways from the food. We might as well have had no food. Right? I don't know, I just go there, I go to that, furthest possible place. Okay, well, if we didn't have enough food, we wouldn't have populated as much. We wouldn't have needed to play God. Everybody should have their own farm. Bring me my foil hat, right? Anyways, other questions. These are good.
I have two.
Yeah.
So back to farmers markets.
Yeah.
I like to buy my eggs from the farmers market. Do they need to be organic, or is it just about
Ask
having
them.
that conversation with them?
Ask
again?
them. Yeah. For the most part, I love getting my eggs from the farmer's market too. You open them up and there's bird poop on them and feathers stuck to them. You're like, yes,
Yeah.
this is my kind, right?
Yeah.
Eggs are not perfectly white, they're bleached. So you're getting a perfectly white container of eggs, that's because they're bleached.
It's disturbing.
Chlorine to wash off to make sure that there's no salmonella on the outside of the egg. When you get a pasture raised egg, they're just meh, they're all different colors, they've got crap on them literally,
Different
and some
sizes.
dirt, all different sizes. The yolk's bright orange. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. So beautiful. Totally different. So look
They
for
taste
those,
different.
and they taste like eggs.
Yes, they totally taste.
Give me all the eggs.
Do you have to wash the eggs if you get them like that?
You can, but don't do it right away. They'll last longer with their own outside on them. You can rinse them off or wipe them off so you're not getting anything in your egg. But I mean, for the most part, I just crack and break the egg and I'm not getting anything in it.
What if the shell falls in there though? That happens to me.
Then rinse your eggs.
And what? Rinse my
You can
eggs.
rinse them. I mean, it's not going to hurt it at that point. You just don't want to do it too much earlier.
Yeah.
So the Costco brown eggs are no good either, right?
They're organic. Okay, remember
Here we go again. See, I gotta
conventional,
go look at the pasteurized
right?
ones.
They're conventional, and then there's organic, which is a step up, but it's still organic
I
corn and
bought my
soy.
eggs from my friend, and there's feathers on them. There's
Yeah,
poop on them.
Totally.
And I'm like,
So then,
okay, I don't
then we
care.
go to that big step up for the pasture raised, right? So that there's that difference. So if what you've got right now is you're all conventional, and you go to organic, that's awesome. And I'm gonna super be proud of you and be like, yes, great step up. Now when you're ready, we take the next step. And there's awesome alternatives.
I didn't know there was
to,
a next step. Isn't that funny?
right? Then we go to the next step.
Didn't know that.
And this is a journey. We're on this journey. And you got to do the one thing at a time. And it's not like, come take my class and do all of the things that I do tomorrow. Like, it's taken me years to get to the point that I'm at. And I'm not even where Pia
It
is.
took me 10 years.
Right?
Well, and when you buy the organic eggs from Costco, they're $2.99 for 18 or
Right.
something.
Too pretty
So
cheap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
They're just
something
still
must be
cheap.
wrong. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop believing the lie and
Right.
thinking this is good because you're being
Right.
organic. It's like
Right.
we got to open our
It's
eyes to
still
that.
deception,
If
even
the price
organic.
is $2.99, there's something
Right.
wrong.
Right, there's still something wrong. There's still deception happening. So that's the point, right? We gotta just understand that those people, the marketing people, the big businesses, they're not looking out for your favor. It's not for your benefit. It never has been. It's for their benefit and make as much money as they can possibly make. Now there's tons of people around here now, Temecula, Murrieta, that have their own chickens. I would have my own chickens if it wasn't for freaking HOAs. But if you can, go ask your neighbors.
Maybe that'll change one day too, right?
Right? Yeah, maybe. Oh, I hope. I'll be out on. Someday I'll have like my own commune and I'll like make my own clothes and just like foil hat, right? They're coming. No,
You
just
could
kidding.
move.
Yeah. No, I love my house.
Do not move.
I know.
I'm enjoying this.
I know.
I'll let you come up and do chickens at my house.
There
okay?
you go. We'll do chickens at your house.
Yeah.
So I mean,
had
I have so
fun.
many friends now that are doing chickens, and I get my eggs from Harvest to You. I get all my produce from Harvest to You. I think it costs me. I have a family of 5 people. I get a family box, so it comes with fruit and vegetables, and I think it costs me $43 a week. And that's all my organic food, and it comes right to my door. My eggs are more; they're $7.99 a dozen.
They're a lot. I know.
Harvest to You. Do you have their business card?
We have all their information. Yeah, we'll give it to you. Pia's got a little flyer. You get $10 off your first box. Yeah. And they have different options. You could do there's a family box, there's a single, a couple. You can do it once a month, once a week,
Oh, good.
every other week. Like, you can totally pick that for yourself. So it's up to you. I mean, and then what I do is if I'm running low on something, like maybe they only gave me 1 onion, like they only gave me 1 onion this week, but I need like 2 more onions to give me to the end of the week. But I know which ones are in season because everything they're bringing me is grown locally in season. So then I can stick with the local organic seasonal market. Yeah.
Anybody else want one?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I have one more question.
Yeah,
I
please.
was, my friend just started growing tomatoes, and so she mentioned that the tomatoes in the grocery stores are prematurely, like, they have the gas, right?
Really good question. Okay, so
Repeat the question.
yes, so the question is about how we get produce to the grocery store and have it even be ripe or even be okay when it gets to the grocery store, right? So we talked about this in our conventional class last week, but I want to touch on it again because this is really important. So when you buy foods, produce in the grocery store, and it's typically the bigger problem is when it's out of season. Okay, so when it's out of season in California, which we have a really long growing season in California, but when it's out of season, they're being shipped in from somewhere else. If you picked a tomato, let's use a tomato since you said tomato. If you picked a tomato today and it was beautiful and it was ripe, and you put it on a truck and you shipped it to a grocery store, and then you put it on the shelf, that tomato would be rotten. In order for them to have produce that stays fresh, they have to pick it before it's ripe, use nitrogen. It ripens on the truck on its way over, and it gets to the store before it's ripe. It ripens there. Otherwise, they end up with a bunch of icky, bad produce. So that's when we go to the farmers markets, because it's like, you picked this yesterday, and I have 3 days to use it before it's going to go bad. And that's a sign of a good piece of produce, right? You've got a couple days to use it. So the same thing goes for all of our vegetables, all of our fruit. If it's coming from somewhere else, you're buying it here in Temecula, it was from Argentina, and it's blueberries. They did not pick those blueberries yesterday. Okay, so they're not, and that comes back to that taste thing too. The conventionally grown foods that we're getting in the grocery store don't have a good taste because they're not being sweetened and grown on the vine, right? They're coming here and being ripened in a truck and on the shelf. So they're not getting the maximum amount of nutrients that they could get. They're not getting ripe. They don't have all that good sweetness to them naturally. Right, they're just not getting what they need from the plants. So when we go to the farmers markets or get the harvest boxes, that produce is picked fresh and delivered to you fresh and ripe. Yes.
What if it's produce that's organic produce at the grocery store? Is it the same thing?
It's exactly the same thing. If it's organic produce and it's coming to the grocery store, organic just means how it's
pesticides,
grown.
Right, so they're still picking the organic produce
Yeah.
early?
Yeah.
Do they still pump it with nitrogen so it ripens
I mean,
on the
that
truck?
doesn't have anything to do with organic. There's no the nitrogen they pump into the soil, they pump it into your food. I mean, like that's how they grow mass crops of the same thing. So just like, not to get too technical on this, we'll definitely have another class on it. But and you could read the book The Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan. He talks a lot about the farming industry and things like that. So corn and soy used to be a crop that was switched every season. So one season the farmers would grow corn, and then the next season they would grow soy. And the reason is the soybeans, the edamame beans, pumped nitrogen back into the soil. It gave the soil the nutrients that it needed. It also helps promote a worm that helps the soil as well. Because we've artificially been making soil now with nitrogen, the farmers don't have to switch their crops anymore. So they don't have to grow the corn then the soy. They can grow corn all the time. So now that's, again, that nutrient depletion in the soil. Everything has got it in it. Go to the farmers markets. Get harvest to you. Go, like where they get it ripe already and you can get it then. If you can't, if it's out of season, buy frozen.
I was thinking that frozen.
Yeah, buy frozen. Because that frozen is organic frozen produce, like organic frozen blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, whatever. Get them frozen, because what happens is they ripen on the vine and then they go get flash frozen and they come to you. So they're fresh, they're delicious, they taste good. I mean, probably not like bread, like you don't want to eat them out of the bag, but you can throw them in smoothies, make bowls with them, you know, blueberry muffins, blueberry pancakes, all of those kind of things, so you're not missing out on your fruit during the off seasons. And that's what we do. Like, my kids get super pissed at me every winter. Like, we want strawberries, and I'm like, too bad. They don't grow, they're not in season. You can have a strawberry banana smoothie if you want, and I can buy you the frozen stuff, but we just don't do it.
Yeah, strawberries a long time ago were only April, I think it was.
Yeah,
That was
and
it.
we
waited
really,
all year for
right, exactly, and we have a
Now
really
get
good long growing
Yeah.
season here in Temecula. The strawberry fields opened in May, and I think they're still going.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you could always buy your own and freeze your own too, if you wanted to, like, know exactly where it was coming from.
That's a great point about buying frozen, because
Yeah.
I don't have the opportunity at the moment to do a lot of farmers markets and
Yes.
to, or
Yes.
I might be able to, but I mainly use food stamps for my
Yeah, but you can do the organic from the frozen food section.
right, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, and still use the food stamps to get the
Nice.
organic foods. I mean, there's a lot of really good ways to get the organic foods, and really look at the prices, right? If you're in the store and you know broccoli's covered, look at the price of the conventional broccoli to the organic broccoli. It might not be much more than a few cents difference. So pay attention to that, and if you're eating and using all the foods and nothing's going to waste because you're paying a little bit more money for it, you're gonna get the value out of it. So, I mean, I totally understand. We live on a budget. I've got 2 kids, my sister, my husband, like a dog. He eats better than we do. Like, it's a cost. But then you've got to, that's got to be the priority. Not eating out, not spending money on frivolous things, and buying the organic when you can. And if it's something that's not an option right now, then you go on that Dirty Dozen list and get those foods for sure, the Dirty Dozen. And those are like all the berries. I can't think of all of them right now.
Apples.
Apples are the
Apples
biggest
number
one. Apples
Yeah.
number 1.
Those are the ones you get organic, that's
You
what you're
have to
saying.
get organic. Yeah, so the Dirty Dozen means these are the dirtiest foods. Buy these organic, if nothing else. And we talked about that in the last class. It's posted, and I gave the whole list on the last class.
With Harvest to You, how do you use everything they bring you every week? Because if they're growing what's in season, there's going to be some things that you don't even know how to cook, I would imagine.
The
Or at
weird
least I
things,
don't.
the weird things,
Yeah.
like, okay, there's one that they've been giving us lately called asparagus beans. They're so cool. They're like this long, and it's like a giant green bean with like asparagus ends. It's crazy.
Did you have it in your lunch today, your lunchbox, Terry?
The purple,
No, I had
No?
green beans, green beans.
Oh, okay, okay.
so the asparagus beans, totally new thing to me. I'd never even heard of them. They provide a recipe. If it's something weird that you've never seen before, there's going to be a recipe in there. I remember maybe 2 years ago I got a kohlrabi in my box. I had never heard of kohlrabi. I had no idea what it was. It's this like bulb, and it tastes like jamaica. I made a Granny Smith apple kohlrabi coleslaw. It was amazing.
We did the same.
Yeah.
What was in your basket? This is just
This
this last delivery. Yeah.
Okay, I just opened it yesterday. I got lemons, apples, figs. Oh, the figs were so good. I put like balsamic, prosciutto, balsamic vinegar, our balsamic vinegar that we have here, and some fresh prosciutto. It was killer. I'm making pizza with it tonight. It's the same thing, but on pizza. Oh, I can't wait. I was dreaming about it last night. I came downstairs this morning and I told my sister, I was like, we got figs, I'm making pizza, we got goat cheese, we're doing it tonight. We got figs, prosciutto, goat cheese, balsamic, like we're doing this. I'm super amped. Okay, what else? I used a bunch of stuff yesterday. I got yellow squash. I got a red onion. I used those in a skillet meal that I did last night. I did like diced onions, sweet potato, the yellow squash. I got a head of kale. I used the kale, and then I used the ground beef from Primal Pastures, and oh my gosh, the spice. I used the Montreal spice. Oh, it was so good. So good. So those were some of the things, and then I got, like I said, apples, lemons. I got the asparagus beans again. I got the figs. I always get lettuce. I got arugula, kale, and I'm sure I got other stuff I can't remember. I have a no
Did you get
nightshades. Oh yes, I got nectarines.
Yeah, 'cause
oh,
we
they
get
were
the
so
box,
sweet.
too.
I had those for breakfast.
Yeah, so we get the box,
yeah.
let me just
Yeah,
chime
yeah,
in
come in.
here, we get the box and we use a lot of the items in our sides for our salad. That's
Yeah.
why those green beans that you had today for your salad, that came in our box.
Yes. Yeah, I
But
got
one of the
green
nice
beans this
things
week,
based
too.
on her question was, you know, you get something, you don't know what to do with it, what
Yeah.
do you do with it? So
Yeah.
you gave good advice, but that's part of the fun of it.
Yeah.
So because I've been clean eating for 4 years, for me, my goal, my next goal for clean eating is to eat what's in season.
Yeah.
So I'm failing miserably at that, but I get parts of it right.
Yeah.
So I get my box and then I know, it's like, oh, okay, then I'm more conscious of that's what I should be having,
Yes.
you know, at this time. But if you don't know what to do with it, that's what's fun about cooking. You can either steam it, roast it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Throw
just
it in a coleslaw.
put a sauce on it and some seasoning, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
guarantee you every time it's good. It
Yeah.
works.
Well,
and you
and-
got eggplant too.
Yeah,
You
so
get
I don't
eggplant?
get eggplant because
Okay,
on
it's
my
a
box
nightshade.
I have like a
Yeah.
no nightshades. So typically, like right now it's summer, so there's tomatoes, eggplant, and tons of peppers.
Yes.
But I don't get any of those in my box because I asked not to. So sometimes I get different things. Like I got the figs, you probably got the
I didn't,
eggplant.
yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah, I know. I want, hey, I want the figs.
Taylor, figs. No, so and then of course P and I get the same box that you would get, so we're always doing something with the box, and we cook every Tuesday morning. Actually, we're moving into Wednesday morning, so every Wednesday mornings we cook here in the store, and we do a video of them. So often you'll see us talk about like what we would do with it, and you know what kind of things you could make with something new, give you a fun recipe. If you didn't already get a recipe from them, the asparagus beans, they gave me a recipe for like garlic asparagus beans. It was 8 cloves of garlic with the asparagus. Oh my gosh, it was so phenomenal. I'm gonna make it again tonight with my pizza. Yeah. I mean, like as a side, you know, you can have asparagus beans and pizza.
A lot of good information.
Good. Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna turn this off. Thanks for watching, you guys. See you next time.